Hi, everybody, and welcome back to Shootin the Shit live with Susan. Today, I'm just going to do a really brief live Q&A. I had a subscriber who wrote in with a topic I think is really important to speak to. It's not necessarily in an area of that I'm extremely well versed in, but I think it's something that's really important to consider. And absolutely, in terms of what the solutions are, I can offer you a few things. So, Hans, I want to thank you so much for writing in and asking this question for our live Q&A today. So I'm gonna just do my best to speak to this. So today's topic is about chemical castration, low libido in men due to chemical castration as a result of cancer treatment. So usually that's for like a prostate cancer, and the type of treatment for that often is to take androgen blockers. So the testosterone production in the body's natural production of testosterone is actually being blocked by the medication, since the prostate cancers often thrive on testosterone. I think the thought behind that is to reduce the amount of testosterone in the body so that to starve the cancer cells. However, the impact of that on a man's sex drive is really big, because testosterone is the main driver for libido in a man. Now, women also have testosterone. Testosterone is also part of a woman's sexual hormone mix, and especially even women going through menopause experience that drop in testosterone. And testosterone therapy is one piece of hormone therapy for women at menopause. They'll do the testosterone pellets to help with sex drive. So, Hans, I just want to say, thank you so much for writing in and for your comment on this. And I'm going to do my best to give you some ideas for what you can do. And, I'm sure that this is a very challenging situation that you're going through. And what I want to say is that I was looking for the comment you left where you left this question. I couldn't find it. I'm having some internet problems today. So I'm here on my mobile device and was just having a hard time finding your exact comment. But what I remember from it is it sounds like there's a lot of pressure being put on you to kind of solve the low libido problem in your intimate relationship. And the thing you pointed out is that it's not all on the man. It is an absolute fundamental change that happens in the relationship for both partners. Now, I don't know what the situation is with your partner, but I would imagine that your partner is probably feeling a big loss as much as you probably are too. When there's big changes that happen in that area of our lives, it is a type of loss. And so what I would recommend to both of you, if you're, hopefully you're good at talking and good at communicating. And if not, I would really recommend that you find someone to help you do that and to help you actually through the grief process, because that's really what this is. I think on the bright side, my understanding is with that therapy, once you're complete with that medication, in most cases, I believe the androgen production will come back. It might not be what it was before, but that's my understanding. Now, I could be incorrect in that, so feel free to let me know if I'm not accurate in that. And I am also aware in some cases where those types of therapies, like that's it. You don't get your natural testosterone production back. So there's a lot of risks and definitely a lot of impacts on the sexual relationship. And what I want to say is that, yes, the sexual relationship. Now, you've probably heard me say that we're each 100% responsible for our own experience, our own pleasure and our own experience, really in anything in life. We're responsible for the reactions that we're having, the emotion, what we do with the emotions that are triggered in us. And we're responsible for the experience we're having also in our sexual relationship. It's really a game changer to take that to heart and to really take 100% responsibility. However, the sexual relationship is also, any relationship is a co-created experience. So essentially there's two people and then there's the relationship between them. So what I think you were speaking to is, what can we do? It's not all on you to fix the problem. And I absolutely agree with that. So what I want to offer to you is that, even though maybe your sex drive is possibly completely gone, um, it's going to require a little bit more intentionality, because the truth is both you and your partner have needs. Your partner might still have the same sexual needs that he or she had before the cancer treatment came in. And your needs, because you're the one that's undergoing this treatment, may have changed drastically as well. So, a good conversation on what your needs are, what your intimate needs for emotional intimacy are, and also your needs for physical intimacy, meaning, explicitly sexual genital arousal. What are your needs and how have they differed? Having a conversation on that and really identifying what that is, and then finding a way to meet those needs. So, you might not have that drive for sex, the desire, even sexual fantasies can even just disappear when the testosterone really drops. However, your partner perhaps hasn't changed. So there's ways that we can negotiate. How can you still give to that need where your physical body may not be functioning the way that it used to? The natural inclination and desire might not be there. So how can you get intentional about really identifying how can you both get your needs met? And it might be that it has to be more intentional, more planned, and more talking. It's amazing how many couples don't talk about sex and about their wants. I mean, I see this all the time as I've worked with couples for over a decade in sex therapy. I'm just shocked at it because, I think there's a lot of shame, or it's something we're not supposed to talk about, or it's just something we're just supposed to know how to do automatically. And if you're not reading my mind, then you should know better. And that is just not true. It's not sexy if we talk about it. We have to get these romantic Hollywood fantasies out of our mind and learn how to talk about sex, how to come to the table and talk about what our interests are, what our needs are. And especially in your case, Hans, where things have really fundamentally shifted, like in a really big way, you have to be able to talk about that and to be able to identify what are some other things that we can do right now that would fulfill some of those needs. Um, so that's one of them. And, another piece here is let's see, what else did I have? I had a couple things here that I had written down to speak with you about. On the physical level, so blood flow is really the main contributor to erections. So we have the testosterone, which is largely just the drive and the desire for sex, but erections are actually more dependent on blood flow to the penis. So what I would offer to you is to not let this just be the complete end. Like you may not have that drive anymore naturally, but you can still keep your penis worked out and make sure that it's getting blood flow either through manual stimulation, self pleasure, and just making sure that there's attention being put on your penis, even if an erection doesn't happen. There's an overemphasis a lot of times that we have to get to that erection. That puts performance anxiety on you, and that doesn't get anybody anywhere. It's just like a double edged sword. So we don't want that. But you can also use have penis pumps, and they also make these for women, and they're awesome. I highly recommend them. But a good quality penis pump can also help just to keep the tissues vital and alive, and keep the blood flowing, and can also help with creating an erection. So if that's part of the challenge that you're having due to the medication, there are other options for that, even when the testosterone levels in the body are very low. Now, another thing I want to say is sort of rearranging our ideas around sex. Sex, we tend to think when we hear that word, like almost 10 times out of 10, we think of genitals, right? We think of genital contact and often putting something inside of something, right? Like penetration happening in one way or another. And what I want to offer to you is that there are a lot of other ways that we can view sex, and even penetrative sex that doesn't involve an actual physical part of the body. So I know some of you watching are going to be like, what the heck is she talking about? This is ridiculous. But I would encourage you to maybe check out some Tantra. Tantric approaches, some of them, are really focused on the use of breath and energy and how you actually work with your consciousness to penetrate your partner with your awareness, with your attention, with your breath, and with your consciousness, which can be extremely ecstatic and pleasurable. And so we call these, sometimes you'll hear these referred to as like energy orgasms, or there's other names for it, triple like penetration. There's different name, triple penetration or something in tantra. But you might look into some tantric practices as a way to start to experience different flavors of sex that can be highly erotic and highly pleasurable, but that don't necessarily involve needing to even have like a really high sex drive or an erection. So I just want to offer that to you because I will tell you, and I know from my own experience, that some of those types of practices are really, really powerful and extremely erotic and extremely pleasurable. So, reframing what we think of when we think of sex, and I hope that your partner is on board with you. I hope that it's not just all been put on you to kind of solve this problem because you're the one that's had the change happen. I think there's a lot of similarities here too. You know, when a woman goes through breast cancer, for example, and has, all the medications she has to go on, and even sometimes with the mastectomy, it fundamentally changes the sexual relationship, especially when the breasts are removed, because that's such an erotic and sexual part of a woman's body. So what I know with those couples is really how they have success and stay intimate together and have a sex life is they have to find other ways to become sexual in other avenues of finding pleasure. We have a lot of different zones and areas on our body aside from breasts, lips, and genitals and butt that can be turned into erogenous zones. And I'm going to share one example of that I think is really fascinating. There is when I was going through one of my trainings for somatic sexology, there was a video we had to watch around, it was a man who had, when he was in his early 20s or mid 20s, he had walked off of a rooftop. He was like in India traveling and it was night and they were up on a roof, like, I don't know, cooking dinner. They tend to like to hang out on the rooftops in India. And he got up and he just didn't notice that it was the edge of the roof and he fell off the roof and broke his back and became a quadriplegic in his 20s. So this was, quite devastating. And he was, very active and physical and very sexually vital. And so over time, he had to learn other ways to become orgasmic and other ways to access his own sexuality and his eroticism. And so he started to work with a somatic practitioner. And this was fascinating. What they had discovered was how to help him actually have the feeling I think he could still have the feeling of orgasm. I'm not sure if he could get erections or not. I actually don't remember that part, but he could still have the experience of orgasm and pleasure. And what they did was they stimulated his finger, actually his thumb. So the therapists, they just sort of discovered this together and they started to kind of have some erotic fantasies and started to stimulate his thumb. And he could have orgasms from that. The feeling of orgasm. I guess the nerve was still there for that or something. Like he was able to do that. And so I thought that was really, really fascinating because the truth is that really any part of our body can be turned into an erogenous zone if we allow it and we work with it and we sensitize it to be that. Any part of the body can be made erotic. And it doesn't just have to be sort of the main ones, right? Lips, breasts, genitals. And so there's really a lot of range and a lot of things that can be explored and played with. And what I would recommend to you, Hans, if your partner is up for it, find a good either a sex therapist or a somatic sex educator, a somatic sexologist. Find a professional, find a really good sex coach and someone, maybe even ideally someone who has worked specifically with cancer patients and other people who have had clients who have gone through what you've gone through. Because I think that's a very specific niche and you really want to find somebody that has really good experience and good skills, I think, specifically working with that because it is a little bit of a different issue than when I spoke about low libido previously, and we talk about the sexual brakes, sexual accelerators. In your case, it's different. It is physiological. Literally, we're just shutting off the androgens. The testosterone production has been shut off. So absolutely, like actually got a physiological basis. So I would recommend find someone who is skilled and who has experience working with your specific talent. So thank you so much again just for writing in. And I want to encourage, thanks everyone for being here with me live. I do live Q&A here every other Friday. And I just go live on a different topic on the opposite Fridays. So today's Q&A, if anyone's got a question, feel free to drop it in. But that question, usually I try to screen the questions ahead of time. So drop your questions down in the chat and I'll look weaving them into my Q&A. And then if there's a topic that you'd like me to shoot the shit with you on, drop it in the comments as well. And when I do my next live next Friday, I'll see if I can weave that topic in. I really always love to know what you are interested in shooting the shit with me about. So please let me know. And if you are interested in the how to overcome mismatched libido. So I know today's topic was sort of a very special case. It's not what everybody or even what most people are necessarily facing when there's the issue of mismatched libido. But I know a certain number of people out there are facing this due to chemical medical influences. But if that's not you and you have a mismatch in your libido, go check out my sexual speedometer test. You can get a copy of that at sexualspeedometertest.com. And what's really neat about that is it helps you identify kind of why you have that mismatch. And I give you some tips for what to do about it, how you actually can start to bridge that gap between you and your partner. And part of it is just understanding the reasons why that happens. And it has to do with how your sexual nervous system is wired. So it talks a little bit about what the dual control model of sexual arousal is, what that is, why it matters. And then the test is going to help you see where you fall on that spectrum and where if you have your partner take it, your partner will know where they fall. And then you'll have a little bit more understanding around, oh, this makes sense. So it's not that anybody's broken. Nobody needs to be fixed. And it's nobody's fault. Okay. I want to be really clear about that. This is nobody's fault. So we have to get out of that kind of thinking and we have to look at what are some solutions and things that we can actually do to start to get back on the same page. So get that at sexualspeedometertest.com. And I hope you find that a really valuable resource. It's completely free. It takes maybe just 3 minutes to complete the test, and it'll give you a quick win and some really good insights into what's going on in your relationship, why your libidos are mismatched, and then some practical things that you can do right away to help get back on the same page. So thank you so much, everybody, for being here with me live. And let's get it on. I'll see you all next time on Shootin' the Shit with Susan.